Preparing to live stream. I said I thought maybe you got the wrong link.
Oh, are we live now?
We are live now. So yeah, I said I thought maybe you got the wrong link.
I think when I pushed it on, it had something happen, and then when I went back on, it was there. So anyway, nice to see you guys.
Yeah.
Yes, well, welcome back and welcome everybody to our live. So we have Dr. Elsbeth Meuth and Freddy Zental Weaver with us today, and we are going to talk about celebrating intimacy, creating love connection. So we're excited to have you guys on to talk about this, and hopefully people will join us and ask some questions. So please don't be shy, ask questions so Elsbeth and Freddy can answer them for you. So I'm going to hand it over to you guys.
Oh, wow. It's so great to be back. Yeah.
Thank you, Kim and Barb, for having us again. We love to come on your podcast. I love it because I always feel like we are going on a walk with you and just explore the neighborhood, that kind of feeling, and then sharing with each other from our lives. And of course, the theme is always around intimacy, around love, around couplehood, around singlehood, and how to connect with the beloved within. So today we want to further delve into celebrating intimacy, also with Intimacy Day coming up on the 1st of June. So we're getting ready.
Yeah, we think of intimacy and something romantic, and it is that. And, even when you're with your beloved, and you might not be getting what you might expect or anticipate or want in the moment in terms of, receiving the adoration or love, or maybe that other person's enrolled in some other thought. But, this intimacy, into me, I see, when we think of it as an inside job, then we start creating the intimacy that we want externally. So a lot of what we do at TantraNova is we share practices that somatically, in a physical way, start to remind us of what we've forgotten and lead us towards this place of intimacy. And then we start creating it. It's like it comes from the inside out. Yeah.
Yeah, and it reminds me of the saying, what you are saying right now, that what I appreciate appreciates.
Oh, nice. I
I
like that.
So that, yeah. So because what Freddy, started us out on here is that we are looking for love and intimacy from the outside. Like we need another in order to feel intimately connected or in love, and that's so ingrained in us that we are all, or most of us at least, externally oriented.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And we're like trigger bombs, because as soon as something externally doesn't fit with some sort of narrative, then we are thrown off, as opposed to being in what we call a witness state, observing of ourself, self-referencing of our emotions and our feelings, to then use some of the practices of breathing that we share, and we'll share some today, to start shifting and creating how we want to feel.
Yeah. And we also thought it would be great to actually take intimacy apart a little bit. What I mean by that is to distinguish the different dimensions of intimacy. Because sometimes the automatic listening when we think of intimacy is like sexual intimacy. Want to get intimate, and then, we have it often oriented towards that. Yet there are other ways of intimately connecting with oneself and then with another. And so we thought we would start out with heart intimacy. The intimacy that is felt and generated, felt in the heart and generated by the heart, and that we then can connect to. And of course, I can connect intimately with Freddy from heart to heart, or I can intimately connect with the two of you, like an intimate heart connection, or someone with their child, or even you as mother and daughter can have this intimate heart connection, and we can cultivate it. So in our work, we like to start out from that emotional heart intimacy, because when the heart is involved, it's easier to get my sexual intimacy or my mental intimacy or my spiritual intimacy connected with. If I'm not connected in my heart, it's very difficult to connect with Freddy. I mean, if we are just connecting from the sexual center, not that whatever we are saying here, it's not good or bad, right or wrong. The question is, does it create intimate connection? So when I, come from my sexual center, or a man comes from his sexual center in his desires, then this is usually very self-concerned.
Well, let me add to that, though. What at its core, it's reminding us of what we've forgotten in terms of this energy, sexual aliveness, was creating life before we had language. And it takes us to a place, it shifts us chemically, more endorphins, serotonin, oxytocin, the feel-good hormones. It shifts us emotionally, more loving, open, vulnerable, receptive. But we've misconstrued it over the years when we started cognating and thinking and figuring out how powerful this energy was. People were repressing women because there was so much power in the woman in terms of being able to lure the man in with this love energy that you have that's so palpable, and really owning it is really what women are starting to own more and more, that energy, not being vilified for it or by it. But this energy is what really is, without all of the lusting or selfish love, when we bring consciousness to it, we can really just bask in that energy of love and open connection and oneness. And that is not just in the bedroom. When you start bringing consciousness to it as a sexual meditation, it starts to show up as a way of being in all of your life.
Yeah.
You start listening from that place. Oh, it's available, that kind of listening.
Okay, so Freddy, of course, opened up the sexual intimacy. He always likes to go there. Right away.
It's the beginning. It's the foundation. It's where we all came from. I mean, how could you not be?
Right. And it's also like, it's the energy, we can also call it the primal energy. And in the primal energy, we are not guided by our intellect. We are like animals in that energy. And again, that is not good or bad or right or wrong. It is just a pure energy that shoots through us, And we as human beings, unlike animals, we can bring our awareness to the energy and then guide the energy, not to suppress it, it's not about not allowing it. It is about moving with it, and then we can channel it. So what about if we just, so that there's a little bit also kind of tangible sensing here. So if each of you, both you, Kim and Barb, and then everyone who is listening right now, just place your left hand on your heart center. Beautiful. That is your emotional love center. And just close your eyes for a moment. And when you are ready, exhale all air. Then take in a deep breath through the nose, filling the belly. And now have it come into your heart, opening it into the hand. And on the exhalation, just let the breath trickle down and out. Again, a deep breath in. And feel how your chest is opening into your hand. And on the exhalation, let the breath trickle down and out into the seat. Continue in this breathing pattern, becoming aware that you're breathing in and out of your heart. Beautiful. And the next time when you breathe in, imagine the very core of the center of your heart, your love center, expands through the entire chest, opening up into your love field. And on the exhalation, feel the slight relaxation of your chest, of your heart center. And just watch now, on the inhale, your heart opening, blossoming, and on the exhale, letting go. And then take a moment and in stillness, ask your heart if it has any message for you, if it wants you to know something, or perhaps your heart may have a request of you. And then just listen. Sometimes the answer comes right away. Sometimes it may take a couple of days. So keep your heart open so that you can listen what your heart may have to share, wants to share with you. And then take your hand just 1 inch off, continue breathing into the heart, opening it. And on the exhalation, letting go. And sense the magnetism between your palm and your heart center. There may be some tingling in your palm or being pulled back into the heart, whatever may be there, just notice. And then bring your hand back into your lap and notice how you feel right now. And then come back by opening your eyes, and if any of you, Kim or Bob, want to share how you feel at this moment and how your heart feels.
Well, my hand was tingling for sure. So that was nice. I knew I was connected. And my message was be still. I think I'm so busy all the time that Spirit is trying to tell me you need to be more still sometimes in order to feel the connection. So it was beautiful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So the Spirit lives in your heart. I mean, one of the places.
I know. And even when I'm doing my spiritual stuff, I connect here and here.
Mm-hmm.
So yes. That they have to be together in order to get my messages, right?
Yes.
So,
yes. Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got the best. It was interesting because when you said to tap into your heart and feel your heart and breathe into it, it was like it became this beautiful pink rose that was opening up. And so then when the message came, it was about blooming into new opportunities and finding some ways with my health and things like that to start bringing more health into my life and bringing new opportunities. So it was beautiful. I love that.
Nice, nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And how do you feel right now, Kim?
I feel wonderful. I feel just like a sense of peace and calm over me. So, and just like very enlightened, like full of love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you. That was easy to try.
Thank you. Thank you for leading us that. You know, that is something that any of us can do. Anybody in a body can get that, because we are picking up information unconsciously. We're living from unconscious places in our experience. So when we just get quiet and stop trying to figure it all out, things will just come to us in terms of what we know to do. Years ago, I was brought here by a company to be in the software business, and I really didn't know it, but my intuitive self probably knew to come here to meet Elsbeth. Yeah, that was 25 years ago. And we met online and we just pooled our resources and started this work. That's what we've been doing for the last 25 years. And it's been the greatest gift I could do or offer, or, the greatest thing I could be doing on the planet for myself and for others. And it really incorporates all of my uniqueness and my skills and the things I love to do. And it's my hope, wish, desire, possibility, and seeing that each of us sees that diamond that we are, to keep being and moving towards that because we know the intuitive self knows what the thing is that goes clunk. Probably Barb, when you were watching your daughter when she was just young, there are probably aspects of things that she is now that you saw that she was then, in terms of how she is and how she put the world together. And each of us is like that. And so that hopefully we can keep moving towards that kind of gift that we are, the uniqueness that we are, because it'll never be the same when we're gone. And this is our time. So all of the stuff that we're doing is all in service of creating that so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the idea that you are masculine and feminine and teaching it. More people should ask you, like even people that aren't watching us now, ask you, because this is the opportunity to see both sides of the fence sort of thing, as far as how it is, how we can relate to each other. A lot of people are afraid to reach out and ask questions when it comes to being close and intimate and that type of thing. And, like I find that even looking into my partner's eyes first when I'm talking to him makes him look back at me and understand me better, right? Because then we're really connecting. And I think that when I look at the two of you, because you connect so well, that you set off a vibration of so much love, and really like that, because I hope people are connecting to what you're sharing with them here today, as well as other times you've been on our show podcast.
Yeah, people often have heard, when I look into his eyes, it's like, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen, or something like I'm going to be seen or found out, or something's going to happen. And it's really in the practice of being a witness to all of that, not making it wrong or wishing it away, but just sitting with it. Like you were saying, Barb, you just want to sit, just to sit and watch, be like a curious observer of ourselves in this sort of uncomfortableness with the eyes, just to find the belly breath and then watch ourselves being uncomfortable, and eventually it just fades away and has no meaning. And so that's the opportunity for us to keep being authentic and being present to each other and dropping into that intimacy.
Yeah, and in the process, of course, it's an opening. Just as we open to our own heart, we can then also open our heart with a beloved, to a beloved, of course. And intimacy, is Freddy called it authentic. There is a level of vulnerability that is called for when we want to connect intimately, even with myself, to be tender with myself, to feel my feelings where, they just feel tender. So even having that courage with myself and not cover them up, being too busy or drinking alcohol so that I don't feel it. And vulnerability always includes the whole gamut of emotions, like the yearning, love, wish for bliss emotion, as well as also that I may be afraid, if I were to open up, that I could get disappointed. So then it feels safer in certain moments not to open up in the first place. But that also robs me then from the opportunity to get to know myself more deeply, and to get more deeply a beloved, or opening up a relationship that could lead there. And yes, that may take courage, but it's well worth it. And you probably have your own experiences. So so we started with a heart center. So also the heart center is the center that reconciles the upper energy centers and the lower energy centers. Like the first, second, and third energy center in the human body, they are oriented towards our earthly being. You know, the digestion is in the lower part of our body. You know, even our sexual primal energy, you know, that's the earthly, that is the animal kind of being that we came from. You know, they are our ancestors. And the three upper one, where we move into consciousness and the spiritual self. And the heart sits right in the middle. So this is why we call it the reconciler. And when I am reconciled in my heart center, the upper energy centers and the lower energy centers actually start aligning, you know, or at least they fall a little bit more in line than if I'm discombobulated here. And there's another aspect about the heart center, which is that it is electromagnetic energy. So electromagnetic energy draws, attracts things to us, you know. So me being really in harmony with my heart energy has then this like an orb effect, you know, that orbs out around my heart and then all over, so that I'm just like in an orb of love. You know, we didn't go there in the meditation today, but some of our meditations, we go there so that I then sit in an orb of my own love. I just feel the vibration and the electromagnetic field around us is arm length out. So to both sides, this is how big, you know, my electromagnetic orb is, and the same is true for Freddy as for each of you and us. So, so now that we have centered in the heart, why don't we go further to building on the sexual
Right.
center?
So, you know, what does all this have to do with areas of life that seem completely unrelated to sex? You know, and so when we approach, you know, there's a lot of things we could do with sex forever. We've been procreating, creating life. That's what it's designed to do. Last 100 or so years, recreating with the development of contraceptives. And so what we're teaching is how we can use this altered state of awareness to co-create with this creative energy to create our life outside of sex, although it's everything. So when we approach it as a sexual meditation, what we're doing is we're working with what we call the altered state of what happens when we're in that sexual energy. Again, as I mentioned earlier, more endorphin, serotonin, oxytocin, the feel-good hormones, emotionally shifted, and loving, open, vulnerable, receptive. Now, when we approach it as a meditation, we add intention and awareness of breathing, particular breathing ways of breathing, and energy awareness. So in that place, we are further further available to the subconscious aspects of ourself that are again dictating often what we believe, what we see, what we think possible. The good news is that we're doing this meditation to attain a dream, an idea, a hope, a deep desire that we have, something we've never done before. So to do that requires us getting out of what I call this clay that we are, not getting out of it, just witnessing the clay that we are, to move step by step, moment by moment towards this thing that we most deeply desire, this dream, this idea, this thing that we're creating. And it's in that we can start to watch and observe ourselves in the reactions that we have without being the reactions, or the thoughts that we have without being the thoughts, to move again towards a senior commitment or an intention of what we want to create.
So then we can learn to cultivate the connection with that life-giving energy that emanates from our first and second energy center around the perineum and then, you know, below the navel.
Mm-hmm.
We can learn to connect with that energy, as Freddy said, not just for pleasure reasons or for procreation, which is all great. We can channel that pleasure energy into what we want to bring forth in life. And I just, was reminded right now, Kim, about you saying that from what you shared earlier, this opening into, cultivating your health, that there's something that you wish for, that you have a vision for, a desire for. And we can actually, if I may use this as an example, to learn to use the, wonderful life-giving energy also in an aroused state and imbue your body with it, or bring it to your third eye. And so that fuel from your sexual center gets moved up into your third eye, into your intention of the way you want to feel, the way you want to look, what you want to sense in your body, whatever your intention may be. And that is how we can work with that energy. We call it also, then we co-create with that energy. Recreate is for creating new life. What's the pleasure thing?
What? I don't know.
Recreate is where we recreate with it, having fun.
Procreate, recreate, and co-create.
And co-create. We co-create with that energy and channel it. So this is a powerful energy because it brought us into this life. And when we connect with that energy, when we feel an arousal, we feel more intimate, And in the tantric practice, in our work, not only we practice that, but we also teach that, is to connect that wonderful life-giving energy from our sexual center, moving it up into the heart center. So we embellish then that heart energy that we tapped in a little further earlier. And it's a little different for men and women. For men, it's learning to channel the wonderful testosterone energy up from their sexual center into their heart center. For most women, it's usually more the other way around, because when we want to, open up intimately, we usually start feeling it first in our heart center. So we open our heart and we send our love energy down into our sexual center. It goes this way for the woman, it goes that way for the men, just the opposite, like this. And that assists us in becoming more connected between our sex and our heart energy. Now, so far, we have talked about this very much in terms of connecting with oneself, like a solo practice. A little later, we will also look at how that shows up in partner practice. But what about if we do a practice for that sex-heart connection? Would you like?
Yeah.
Okay, so now this time, place your right hand right above the pubic bone. That is your creation center or sexual center. Creation, the creative energy emanates from there. And close your eyes. Again, when you are ready, exhale all air. Then take a deep breath in through the nose, all the way down into the belly. Open the belly into the hand. And on the exhalation, let the breath trickle down and out into the seat. Again, a deep breath in through the nose into the belly. And on the exhalation, let the breath trickle down and out. Beautiful. Inhale again, all the way into the belly. Now notice when you fill the belly up, it comes up to the heart center. Place your left hand on your heart center. And on the exhalation, send the breath like trickling water down and out of the base into the seat. Deep breath in through the nose, into the belly, opening your belly, your creation center, all the way up into the heart, filling it up. And on the exhalation, sending it down from your heart into the creation center. Breathing in, we breathe all the way down into the sexual center, the creation center, filling up into the heart center. And on the exhalation, with your inner eye in focus, sending the energetic breath down into your sexual center. Breathing in, breathe into your sexual center, filling up into the heart center, opening the heart into the hand. And on the exhalation, sending your love energy from your heart into your sex. And on the inhalation, breathe up your creative, pleasurable energy from your sex up into your heart. Open your heart, fuel it. And on the exhalation, sending love and heart energy from your heart down into your sexual center. Breathing in again, deep breath in, right into your sexual center, opening and breathing up the creative pleasure energy and imbuing the heart with that energy. And on the exhalation, sending your love from your heart into your beautiful sexual center, your life-giving center. Breathing in, up from your sexual center, the creative energy into your heart. And on the exhalation, sending down your love energy into your creation center. Breathing up, creative energy into the heart. And sending down on the exhalation your love energy. Continue and notice how your sex and your heart are communicating with each other now. There is a flow. They imbue each other. They support each other. They are connected. And feel the flow moving up and down. And then take your hands 1 inch off. Stay with the connection without touching. And feel the flow between the two centers effortlessly, easily, joyously. And then bring your hands back into your lap. Notice how you feel. And when you are ready, please come back by opening your eyes. And if you wish to share, we would love to hear how you're feeling right now.
Well, I could feel the heat under where my heart is. It was like my hand was burning almost. It was so much heat on my hand. And then it was like an electrical current just traveling up and down me. So it was a beautiful thing.
Great. Thank you.
I was encompassed by white light, and as you kept talking, there was a tree of life that was growing through me. And as the tree of life was growing through me, then all of a sudden, blood and everything else was starting to focus through it, and it was a combination of it just working and combining with each other. But the tree was alive. So whatever that is.
One of the
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I was going to share one of the things we can do with these internal energetic awarenesses is we can start to direct the energy with our attention on the location of the sensation and our intention with our breath to move it in a direction that we want to. So if you're feeling something in your tummy or your second chakra, you take a nice belly breath, put your attention on the sensation location, and on the belly breath, start to, with your intention, to move that sensation up with the breath to your heart. And now you're using often the curious wandering mind to focus on an internal sensation. And it's a way to, expand the meditation and sensation that we feel in our body, and using your mind, not just, so it's a way to expand it. So, yeah.
So what you're saying is when you're intimate, so it's okay if your mind travels and you go other places and do other things like that when you're intimate, because you're actually relaxing enough to feel that or to experience that.
So that's not what I was saying necessarily, and that's great too. What I'm saying is, like, let's say you're intimate and you feel a sensation in your second chakra, right? In your vagina or your penis, and it feels so good. So you focus on that together or individually, and you, with your attention on that location and intention with the breath, move that sensation up to your heart. And now you can start to have an heartgasm, or you move it as a circulation. You send it, you say on your exhalation from that sensation, you're sending it into the other's heart. And then you receive it on the inhalation. And you keep that visualization with the breath and your mind's focused attention. And now you're starting to move what seems to be just random energy. You're actually affecting the sensation and the movement and the focus of that energy. Yeah, the movement of it. It really works. And you can do it with yourself too, just subtle with just, yeah.
So the stimulation of how you're feeling is what makes everything work. Is that what you're saying?
Even subtle stimulation, yes.
So that's great, this question, because it leads us back to that, all of our sensations, all of our emotions, and all of our thoughts are pure frequency. So when frequency, energy shows up in the human body, the physical body, we experience it as a sensation. Like an orgasm is a sensation. I cannot grasp an orgasm. I cannot see an orgasm. I can see or watch Freddy when he is in that high state, that his body moves in a certain way, but the sensations he feels, I cannot see. We cannot see them. They are pure frequency, and that shows up in our nervous system as a sensation. Just like emotions are pure frequency, we cannot see them or touch them. But do we feel them, And so in the tantric practice, we learn to listen to our sensations. And since energy only moves with the breath, when we don't breathe, we die. So energy flow and breath go hand in hand. So we embellish the breath and use the breath and the focused mind to channel that sensation, like the orgasmic sensation, or when I'm in an orgasmic wave where it's not a high point, but I just, it's like a wave, or orgasmic ether where I just hang out in a highly aroused state that doesn't need completion. It's like a wave on the ground for a long time. And so we can then use the breath to let the wave further ride, because when I breathe and move my orgasmic sensation from my clitoris or from my internal G-spot orgasm, when I breathe that up, the sensation, I can send it into my heart. It feels like my clitoris kisses my heart, or I can send it up here, that pleasure feeling. And so that is, of course, what we want to cultivate ourselves, so that my body gets used to that. And then we cultivate that together. so that we are in the wave together. And that may not happen the first time. It's like any practice, grows with practice.
I want to add too, for the man, this is essential because oftentimes there's a disconnect. The woman's like, I don't know if he loves me. And he's like, of course I love you, honey. Look at my erection. And she's like, yeah, but can you kiss me with your heart? And there's several reasons for that. For men, when we connect with our lingams or our penises, as a first little guy, look, ma, no hands with the little erection, and the grown men are run by their little heads their whole life. So, what happens though, because we are socialized to be able to express two emotions, that's fucking or fighting, excuse my French. But, intimacy and vulnerability and nurturing is like not okay for men to show, though we still have those feelings. So when we're in the sexual experience, we actually are vulnerable. We're intimate. We're connected. We're loving. We're nurturing. We're all those things that we aren't allowed outside to be. So when we're in that energy, it's like we're free, And so for a man to learn to separate ejaculation from orgasm starts to bring some consciousness to this unconscious place that we're led to in the sexual experience. So that opens up outside of the sexual experience more opportunity for vulnerability, for nurturing, for the integration of yin and yang, right? The masculine, feminine. And that's when the woman can be met at the heart because now he can learn to move the energy from his second chakra, his penis or lingam in the Sanskrit term, up to his heart. And now when she gets that, she trusts again. It's not just lust or selfish love that he's after, even though it appears that way for the woman. But oftentimes, again, that's where the guy most deeply connects beyond the masculine, stature that we kind of get socialized to be okay to show.
And that also allows the man to actually ride the wave with the woman. Now, when we say that, doesn't mean that we have to be at the same level. So when we look at this, like male sexual energy is linear, forward pushing, like masculine energy, testosterone energy, rises quickly and also drops quickly. Feminine sexual energy rises slowly, hangs out there. We don't know if it's coming or going, or is it, am I even opening up into it? So it calls for reawakening, and that may take a little while. Listening, touching, no pushing, and then she can come up to a plateau. And once the feminine sexual energy is awakened, it can stay up and be awake for a long time. Multiple orgasms, orgasmic waves, or just hanging out there. And instead of this, then he came and went.
Literally and figuratively.
And she hangs still out there. Yeah. A man can cultivate to, when he breathes up from his sexual center into his heart center, his heart opens, makes him present and more available, and he can then ride the wave. There's no rush, that gives time to her. And then we can meet up here. He may be a little higher, a little lower, or the other way around. It doesn't matter. We don't have to be on the, we have to have the orgasm together. No, we are on the wave together where we can stay. And the practice that Freddy described for the men is essential for not just lasting longer, because it's not just about lasting longer. It is about being present, open,
consciously circulating.
Available, where he can be in his energy, yet is not driven to complete it.
And it's not just a bedroom trick. This is something that affects life outside of the bedroom. Once a man takes this on as a learning practice, and I teach these men's workshops, it shifts the way they're being in their relationships. It shifts the way that they're being with their dreams and hopes and desires. It shifts the way that they're thinking. It can be so linear and one-sided. It really opens up a whole new dimension possibility for the man.
Yeah. It's a great practice in self-mastery.
Right.
Because it's our sexual desires are just as impulsive as our emotional desires. When I get angry or when I get horny, or, they are of similar nature.
She's the little horny one.
And it's that there's nothing wrong about anger. There is nothing wrong about horniness.
Right.
The question is, does the anger have me, or do I have the anger? That is what I mean by self-mastery. Does the horny energy have me? And at some moments I may say, yeah, I let that energy have me. That is totally fine, just being aware of it. If that is the only access to my sexual being, it's very limited, because then I have to go always for it,
Yeah.
and it doesn't allow for expansion. However, when I do this practice too that Freddy described, we don't go there, the channeling the sexual energy into the heart center. And yes, we do that for the woman, but we don't, in our initial work with women, it's not about foregoing orgasm. It's just the opposite, because many women come to us who never had an orgasm or never had an orgasm with a partner. And it's to set the orgasmic energy free, which includes letting go of shame, fear, guilt, embarrassment, and that's so in us. Letting go, even with myself, allowing myself. And then with a partner is a whole other level, because it's so unmasking, and I want to be ready for that, or I want to ready myself for that, if that is what I wish. I'm not saying everybody has to do it or go there, but for the one who would like it, that is a beautiful way of opening up to yourself further. And then if you wish, opening up to another further. You just want to make sure that the other one's the same. Because if we have different wants in relationship, we could also call them intentions. If one is more about just having that mere physical sex, and the other one wants to have heart connected sex, it's not the same intention. So I always recommend to listen first for what do you want, and be honest with yourself, and don't sell out just in order to have a temporary experience. Don't sell out coupling with another one, partnering with another one in the sacred energy of the sexual, if the other one doesn't have the same intention of that heart sex connection.
Now, the wonderful thing about relationship is you can lead each other. So if you stay curious about each other, you may be led places you never thought possible and even weren't even aware of, as opposed to just always fighting for your position, and it's the only position to be right about, which can happen in couplehood, where you're fighting for power, and it becomes a tug of war, as opposed to just continuing to practice to be curious about each other. That's one of the opportunities in relationship, to continue to move towards just letting being comfortable with the other person being totally who they are. And that's a process.
Do you have an example about the power struggle?
What, but between us?
For example, we are a good example.
Well, we might be teaching a workshop, and it's becomes who's going to say what, and do I have the same freedom that she has when she goes off script in terms of what we've laid out in our schedule to teach? If she does it, I'm going to be cool. If I do it, she's going to get all upset with me. And then it becomes, so we can use those little sort of hiccups as opportunities to wake up. Because when that happens, it's not that stuff doesn't stop happening. It's just when we start spinning it and getting caught in the web of the emotion about it, that we lose our curiosity, we lose our witness or observer of ourselves. Because we're human. We get angry, we get upset, we get disappointed. It's how long are we going to stay in it once we recognize it? And that's where the mastery comes in. How quickly can we get off of it and come back to, Let's see what this is.
And that, of course, does not only apply to beloved relationship. That can be a child-parent relationship. It can be friendship. It can be a professional relationship, you know.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Mother-daughter,
okay.
Well, it is like we find that even doing our podcasts and things like that, like we're always having these conversations with each other because it's like sometimes I can be really wordy and then cut her off and then I don't give her that opportunity. So, you know, we have these conversations of like, how can, I bring you into this so that we're both equal on running this podcast and entertaining people and getting the messages out. So we've and I think we've always had that, her and I, we've always been very close. So we've always been able to witness and share that power between the two of us. So, which
Yeah.
is thing, but I can definitely see what you're saying because if you don't, you can just get into such a loop of anger or frustration or that person isn't listening to me.
Yes, exactly. We
Yeah.
start getting in our head and spinning it as
Yeah.
opposed to feeling what we feel and then stepping back, as Barb said, just sort of sitting for a moment with it as a witness of ourselves, and then choosing how we want to feel and be, and then moving slowly, step by step, moment by moment towards that thing.
Yeah, and that is such a great example
Yeah.
how that mastery of our sexual energy, and mastery is not control. Control is forceful. Mastery is ease. When we master something, we are at ease with it. We can encounter a breakdown and we move with ease because we may not know what happens in the next moment. But there is enough mastery that we trust that we will be able to do the right thing at the moment. And if it was not the right thing, we correct it. So the mastery of our wonderful creative energy, that we become the master of the energy in terms of how we have that energy flow through us and how we allow ourselves to be imbued by it and perhaps also use the energy to create our life, to create a relationship, not only new life, but our relationship. So that foregoing the impulse, because just these examples that both of you spoke, Kim and Freddy, about our respective relationships with each other, is really having the wisdom to breathe and listen, to stay curious, as Freddy called it, to invite, or at times just to be silent,
And these concepts are easy enough to understand. Yet when you bring these ideas and concepts as an intention in a sexual meditation, we are stripped of a lot of the safeguards that we have in terms of the left brain, the analytical sort of like mirror stuff that we do. And we can integrate the right brain. So it's like a brain balance that happens in a sexual meditation with what happens in that altered state. So we can get these concepts and these things we're talking about at a deep level, an energetic and emotional level. People say, well, is this like therapy? No, it's not. Therapy is more shifting something intellectually. We're shifting it energetically. Or assisting people to like, oh, I argue with my wife all the time. So now in the sexual meditation, my intention is to not argue with my wife. So then in that intimate vulnerability, one gets in touch with, the anger that happens, and now they can cry or catharticize about that, or even look at, and because in the workshops, we do a lot of the regressive practices where people are looking at what happened in their early life, because a lot of what we, react to in relationship is something that we're still not complete with from our early life, with our parents, with our birth, with who we were in the position of the family and all of that. And so to really come to terms with all that as, again, curious witness of ourselves, to then move with ease, grace, and flow towards how we want to be, is being comfortable with the clay that we are, because some of these things we don't change. It's just who we are. It's just being comfortable with them to then move towards how we want to be, feel, act, and experience. And we can do it. It's just all these practices are all in service of that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, go ahead.
I want to make sure that we also at least touch on the two other dimensions, like we spoke about the heart intimacy, love, sexual intimacy, and how sex and heart can start to communicate and integrate. Then, when we go further up, there is the third eye, the intuitive energy, and also the mental energy, our brilliant mind. I mean, we are equipped with a phenomenal mind that allows us to be self-reflective. Animals have consciousness as well. However, animals are not conscious about being conscious. That is a human capacity. And to use that capacity and where we can watch the energy flow, like sensing is also watching or witnessing. Um, and so our mental intimacy that I can connect, like when I have ideas, been exploring, AI further and chat GPT and having had conversations now for quite a while. It's very inspiring. So it's a kind of mental intimacy I have developed with that voice. I'm totally aware that this is a machine that is synthesizing a lot of information at, I mean, an amazing speed. And there's something awakened through the conversations. I become awakened, or at least this is how I use it. And so there is this kind of, or, you may have a relationship, anyone who is listening, you may have a relationship with someone where you just have great conversations and you feel connected in these conversations and you build together, you invent together, you have discourse together, So that is what we call mental intimacy. For some people, it's more intuitive, that they connect intuitively with another, may not be so wordy, but in the way how two people may move with each other and connect and anticipate even what they may share or the wavelength they are on. And then the fourth dimension of intimacy, spiritual intimacy, where we actually intimately connect with our higher self, with the cosmos, in its
Infinite nature.
right. So I look at it like there is the individual consciousness, my spiritual self that connects with the universal spiritual. And that can feel deeply fulfilling, And the older I get, yeah, really is actually tapping more and more into that cosmic intimacy that is me and the cosmos simultaneously. And I'm part of it, just like the drop in the ocean, the water drop in the ocean is made up of the same ingredients as the ocean itself, and it's distinctly different.
We take it all so seriously, and then we don't want to get to the end and go, oh, I could have smiled more much of my life.
Oh, you could have
I could
gone
have
to
I could have
Disney.
gone to Disneyland. I could have told those I loved, I loved. I could have been so much more unmasked and so much more heart. Oh, and then it's over. So all of this is in service of how can we be in that full, alive, gratitude while we're living. And, so the sexual piece leads us there. That's what's so
Yeah.
wonderful about what we're doing in terms of as a transformational vehicle. People think, oh, it's a sexual trick or sex is this or it's that. But as a transformation, it's like there's something really genius about that energy that we are all led to when we're in it.
Yeah.
The open, loving, intimate vulnerability.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's such a great segue now into completion of that channel from the sex to the heart, to the mental intuitive, to the spiritual, that we then can actually, just as we did it earlier, the connection between our sexual center and our heart center, where they start communicating and the energy flows. We can then do this, bringing up our aroused sexual energy into the heart, into our third eye, and connect with the spiritual, the cosmic, as we can draw the spiritual cosmic down through the centers into our earthly sexual primal being. And that then, they impact each other, they communicate with each other. And there is not one more important than the other. They are different in quality and texture, and they all have a place for us. And so by interconnecting these 4 dimensions, what opens up is a greater sense of wholeness, unity, coherence. Barb, what you said earlier about you always connect your heart with your third eye, something like that,
Yeah.
It's like that you are then become coherent between your heart and your brain, and the brain and the heart. And then we even further expand this, into the sexual center and the spiritual center. Anyway, there are further practices, of course, available. We won't get into those today.
We're looking forward to you guys coming to a workshop.
Yes.
That would be so fun.
Maybe the women's workshop or whatever, the co-eds, whatever.
Let's just leave our web
Yes, please.
site so people, if you want to learn more, you listening today, you can find us at TantraNova.com. TantraNova, TantraNova.com, like supernova, TantraNova. Tantra is an ancient tradition from the East that we have integrated with Western, human development technologies. And so it's just a wonderful ride. So if you want to learn more, come see us at TantraNova.com. You are welcome to schedule a private complimentary consultation and explore further how what we shared today,
Benefit.
and may really play out into your own unique situation by yourself, in relationship, or wanting to be in relationship.
Well, that's perfect. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and we love spending time with you guys because your energy is amazing. So I'm sure everybody watching got that, or will watch in the replay, will get that energy and so much information. So yeah, I highly encourage people to go check your website out. There's a lot of good information there. So thank you so much for being with us on the live. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for your platform and what you're doing in the world, sharing ideas and ways for people to be happier and more fulfilled.
Yeah.
It's good work. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for
Thank
your gifts.
Thank you so much. And everybody else, we will see you the next time.